Hello everyone and welcome to a special presentation of PESA Presents. This is a redo of an earlier video that we did attending or vending at a fossil gem and mineral show. Now the following is a primer on whether it be visiting or vending at, so being a dealer or a guest, at fossil gem and mineral shows. Now these questions are genuine ones that people have asked of me, whether it be at Mineral Fest, other shows, or basically other conventions related venues. Now, keep in mind, this is not to knock anybody. Not everyone is knowledgeable in a field when they start off. Folks have to start somewhere, and they ask these questions for a reason. So just be nice in the comments. Okay? Now, ways to find a mineral show in your area, or how to spot Don Pickin, hi buddy, in the wild. Don was the first member of PESA that I ever met. I actually joined the club completely by accident one day when our then local paper was running a show on what they were advertising as a community yard sale. I came there, found Don and several other people absolutely fuming that Mineral Fest was being advertised as a community yard sale, but on the plus side, I came for a yard sale and found PESA. Now, for a list of rock and mineral clubs in your area, there are two sites there that I'll link down below. And for sites that focus just on show listings, you can go right there. Also, too, definitely by all means examine your regional geologic attraction or mineral store like Bay's Rock Shop or Lost River Caverns with Gilman's by the Cave. Also, too, your local news outlet or event page sites. Hopefully you have better luck with yours than I did with mine back in the day. And note, it doesn't hurt to check details beforehand. Now, while most shows are very, very stellar and they do absolutely great customer service, occasionally there are mistakes. And you know what? People make honest mistakes. But one time there was a pretty big mistake in a fairly major show that I was actually rather upset at. So, oh, there he goes. You see, you may have just seen Archaeopteryx. Key thing is, I couldn't a few years ago. We drove for quite some time to see a rather fairly well-known mineral show that had been advertising one of the actual just the actual fossils of Archaeopteryx. It had been in all the internet advertisements. It was even in the maps when you showed up, and they had posters and everything there. Yet when I went to go ask security where it was, I was alongside a group of, well, an increasingly angry group of people who were told that the specimen wasn't on exhibit because they couldn't afford the insurance. And instead of basically turning people away in theory that went to the show just to see that particular specimen, they simply didn't say anything. So, false advertising. Again, could be a completely honest mistake, but still, you don't want to repeat what I went through. Now, how to plan and things to bring. Igor and his friend there, they have a little bit of time sometimes to plan. I mean, the guy on the right, he's got 3 months to wait, but Igor is raring to go. I mean, he's right at Mineral Fest. So, what should a handy dandy assistant such as him bring? Now, the top item that guests or vendors forget to bring, this happens every single gosh darn show, is, well, something to carry your stuff with. Whether it be boxes, flats, packing material, or totes, whatever that may be. Keep in mind nowadays that not all cities or states permit sellers to give bags. Like while I'm a native of the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, I am currently a resident of New Jersey, and New Jersey no longer gives out plastic bags. So you're going to have to consider that. Now, if you want a flat or a cheap, a flat, for those that don't know, is basically a small, thin cardboard box. Ask around to your local grocer for boxes that store canned goods. They work very well as flats. Also, too, something that you can consider, the little pill bags. You can get them at pretty much any pharmacy. An actual pharmacy, I don't always see them at. Like, say, I went to Walmart and Target just to specifically see if they carry these things. No, you have to go to an actual pharmacy itself. So while you may not always be putting little pills in them or medicine or anything of that end, those little bags do great for not only small individual mineral samples, but they are wonderful for small fossils, especially shark teeth. They are the be all end all to store shark teeth in. Now, some partially or all outdoor shows, Mineral Fest included, allow leashed dogs. Always check beforehand to see if your beloved rockhound is welcome. If you happen to come to our show, I have milk bones at the club table. Just saying. Now, some other resources that people often ask for or forget. A duct tape, about $60 or more in change, because inevitably I can't tell you how many shows I've done, comic book or trading card and mineral, where basically your very first customer of the day hands you a 50 for, say, a dollar sale and wipes out almost all your change. So you got to consider that. So do $60 or more in change, and also two, for a very, very quick, easy way to do a table cover, just bring a fitted twin sheet. Most tables at these shows are about 6 to 8 foot long, so they're about the size of a standard twin bed. So when in doubt, if you don't really have a table cover, but you have some spare twin flat or fitted sheets around, bring those. Now, if you're coming as a guest, don't forget your list. No matter what format your list takes, don't forget it. Also, too, you can bring a small hand lens, fluorescent light, calipers, or other measuring tools. Keep in mind, overhead lighting can be utter garbage sometimes at a venue, and that isn't the fault of the venue or the people that are holding it. It's just that overhead fluorescent lighting does not really show color tones adequately. It's something that you'll find, like, say, a lot of sewers and crafters and cosplayers do. They'll do specialty lighting and specialty paint in their craft studio so that they get better light reflection off the walls, so that they are able to better tell, these values of color. And when you're doing something like, say, rock and mineral investigation and hounding, and some of these samples and specimens are identified and really more likable by a certain color that they have, it's best that you assess their true color. And if you do buy that specimen, be sure to assess its label. Is it labeled perfectly filled out? Is it complete? Because without that context, without that information, your specimen's almost essentially worthless in terms of what it is. And yes, no matter what show you go to, dealers do need a tax ID. Get that many times a year. Dealers need a tax ID, and yes, I have been to many, many shows where a local official comes by and checks your tax ID, so be sure you have one, because I do. Now, note, several kind of gem and mineral specimens are sold by weight. An example of that is right there, which is lapis. Now, this is also for lapidary or jewelry materials, things like that. So bring an awareness of weights and measures. If, for example, you're buying lapis, like the one time I did, and you're buying something, just be sure that when you see it and it comes up and you see that the price is per gram, you don't have sticker shock thinking that's per ounce. So yeah, bit of a difference. Now, okay, so you're at the show. What do you do? Well, there's lots of different things you can do. Oops. Now, while you're at a show, keep in mind that while most people are honest, it doesn't hurt to ask questions of the vendors. They are there, after all, to sell their wares. And while yes, fakes do exist of both fossils and minerals, still, it all comes down to the old reliable buyer beware. If you're interested in something, the best way to keep yourself from being cheated is to just educate yourself on it. There is this one particular rock shop, without mentioning any names, that in New Jersey, that whenever my husband and I go past it or go inside of it, the proprietor is always feeding people some weird story about his specimens just to get them to buy them. It's very dishonest, and while the vast minority of people are like him, it does not hurt to educate yourself. Now, also, too, keep in mind that there are some minerals that look different depending on if they're heat treated or not. It's sort of an unwritten code of mineral dealers that you're supposed to say if a specimen has been heat treated. An example of this is with quartz. If you have amethyst, which is a purple color, and you heat treat it, it turns to the same, or a similar color rather, as citrine, which is a goldy orangey yellow. Also, too, radiation can have this same effect. So just keep in mind what can happen and the things that can change. Also, too, speaking of changing, now while most halls are handicap accessible, ours is on both floors, something of which I'm very proud about. Keep in mind that stairs may still be within the locality itself to get within a bathroom, a restaurant, or other things. I actually saw that advertised specifically within the ad for a show for another club. They advertised that while all floors are handicap accessible, in order to get to the bathrooms, you do need to use stairs. Also, too, large shows often check bags. And when leaving, try to go right after the hour if you're a show with door prizes. The last time I was in the Delaware Valley Paleontological Society show, I stayed until like an extra 15 minutes until they did the door prizes, and funny thing is, I actually won. Now, the top how to spot a fake item that I get asked about, megalodon teeth. A lot of people want to know how to tell apart a fake meg tooth, or conversely, a nice one, from one that they shouldn't be buying. Now, there are two very, very good sites down there that, again, I will link below to in the comments, and also to our earlier video, of which one of the sites is on Megalodon itself. Now, one does not simply attend Mineral Fest. You know, there are lots of other things to do at a mineral show other than looking at the specimens and wondering why in God's name Sean Bean took so many roles where he dies graphically in all of them. Now, many shows offer special events or attractions. Right there on either side are some of the absolute wonderful people that have taken over and really run with, and no pun intended, rocked our fluorescent mineral display. There is the wonderful Empress of Fluorescence, Lauren, and then Kent and Gary did the stage. So thank you all very, very much. I cannot praise them enough for that. Now, be it a fluorescent mineral room like what we have, special lectures, scouting help, or the like, there can be extra events at your show. So see if they have a schedule or something. And also, too, keep in mind, as a former badge counselor, attending a mineral show can help you qualify for the BSA Geology badge. Now, payment methods. Yes, many dealers do take card, but not all. So be sure that you bring some cash with you. We actually emptied out the ATM in the lower level of Mineral Fest at the last show. Some dealers, an increasing amount honestly, go strictly by online payments, mostly PayPal or Venmo. Now, if you're paying via PayPal, be sure that you send funds via goods and services, not friends and family. The differences don't seem like much, but in terms of really your personal security and security of your state of mind, they can help out a bit. So if, say, like you owe a cousin or something $20 for a ride or for some Grubhub or something, then you can give him that money back via friends and family because you know who he is, and elsewise the money would get taxed. Now, if you're actually buying something, you send that money via goods and services, and what that does is that PayPal gives you basically an extra level of security just in case something were to, God forbid, go wrong with a transaction or be wrong with the item itself. You have that innate guarantee of at least starting the procedure to see if you can get your money back, which I have actually done, and it has succeeded on all fronts. And if you are a new dealer, keep in mind, get receipts, even for your mileage, for your expenses are now tax deductible, even your supplies. Now, some minerals have a lot of forms and thusly a lot of names. Like some, garnet for example, are really not even a single mineral but an entire group. Quartz is another one that I see this happen to a lot. Keep in mind anybody that tells you the opposite, because I've seen a lot of times folks use blanket terms, assumptions, trying to assign, just say, abilities to an entire vast group of minerals that is either really just that, a vast group of minerals, or assigning, conversely, all sorts of different abilities to the various forms of, for example, quartz. No, they don't have different abilities. They're all really the same mineral. They just exhibit different impurities to them, which lends to them their color. So be careful when you get blanket statements about a group because they may or may not be true. Now, just in case you want to make your friends back home feel envious, because, every day is a good day to quote Psycho, one of the little things that we also offer outside the show, and I see a lot of other places are starting to offer, is more things for the little rock hounds coming along. So keep in mind, parents, that if you're bringing along, like, say, a range of kids, there probably are things for the little ones that may or may not necessarily be as interested to do. I mean, they can at least pose around and, take a picture by a giant trilobite. That right there, by the way, on the right is our President Pete, so looking darn good in that minor, I'd like to add. Now, don't turn your nose up, folks, at old books or magazines. Just keep in mind that not all these collecting sites are still active. Why are these great resources? Well, rocks are pretty freaking old. I hate to surprise you. So, a lot of the information in these older books and magazines is still just as vital as what it was, well, when these magazines and that were printed. Just again, with the collecting sites, keep in mind that things change. And also, too, people ask me a lot about guidebooks, what guidebook I would recommend. Overall, personally, I like the eyewitness books for rocks and minerals, and eyewitness guides, rather, for gemstones as well. They have very, very nice pictures, they're very clear to read, and they have very sturdy backing. But keep in mind, guidebooks are a guide, not the be all end all on how to identify minerals. Those photos are taken under idealized conditions, shot with professional cameras, everything else, so they're not necessarily the type of mineral that you would get at a show. Now, that is not to say that the specimen you will get at a show is worse than what you will see in the picture in a magazine or a book. No, far from it. Yours is actually, not only is it still the same exact type of mineral, but in many ways it's pretty special because it's something that you've been looking for and that you finally found and that you were able to successfully identify. So just don't feel bad if it doesn't look exactly like the picture in a book. Some reminders on buying. Walk around before you buy anything big. Reasons? This happens to the same group of people every show. Now, one, it might be hard to carry, and two, someone else may have one cheaper or better. Yes, pretty much, shows can always, you can leave and come back, and if you pay admission, you have like a thing around your wrist or something to let them know that you did that. So you can take things to and from your car. But still, that isn't always the easiest thing to do. So when you're also buying as well, kind of like what we said earlier, consider what your specimen will look like under different light conditions, and again, always check your labels. Now, an eye to the future. This happened 10 times at the last Mineral Fest, I actually counted. Now, many attend a show before they choose the vendor themselves. You kind of scope out the territory, Now, some things you can keep in mind. Are the facilities and access points easy to get to and clean? Where will your table be? Not all spots have electric or wall space, so just keep that in mind if you go to request a spot. And again, tables are usually 6 to 8 foot, and be sure you have your tax ID and other proper documentation right there, if not displayed. Also, too, was the show well advertised, and do the dealers seem busy or pleased? I mean, if you come up there and they're busy playing June's Journey or something on their phone, then chances are it's probably not the best to show, and you should probably reconsider going somewhere else. Also, too, is your merchandise in line with the rest of the show, and do you have that much competition? If you're selling all, say, purple fluorite, first of all, that's a fairly common mineral, so you gotta reason, well, gee, a lot of other people would have that at the show, so there's that much fewer money spread along all of these other dealers, because there are only so many people going to a show for one thing, right? So if you have an awful lot of dealers selling it, that's that much less money each one can get. And also, too, if you go to a show that is specialized in, say, specimens of a certain variety, but you bring really, really expensive, like museum pieces, you may not make that much money. I mean, if you're going to a show that's, I don't know, I've been to ones that are mostly wholesale, ones that are for museum bits, ones that are family friendly. It's all over the map, and you got to sort of read the area and gauge what to bring. Now, also, too, does the show have on site security? And oh my gosh, I wish I got video of this. Thank you immensely to whoever was dancing up as a hot dog outside of our show. That was awesome. If you hear me, please come back. And thank you much, folks, as always, for your support of not only PESA, but just other clubs in general. You're the ones that we do this for. All the volunteers that put together our shows, including the amazing, as always, Dane Transu for wrangling us together. Thanks, buddy. But you know what? We don't only do this for ourselves, we do this for you guys. So thank you very much, everybody. Go out there and look at some nice rocks. Bye now.